Okay, City Council to order. Need a roll call, please.
Boyd.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Hebblethwaite.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Alexander.
Here.
Burris.
Here.
Gertis.
Here.
Grayson.
Here. We'll have the opening prayer by Kelly Boyd and the pledge by Oscar Nelson.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight thanking you for everything you have blessed us with in the city this year. And Lord, we're looking forward to your direction and guidance as the year comes before us in 2025. Lord, tonight, give us a blessing tonight. Help us to do your will in these chambers. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tried to wave, but Susan wouldn't let me. I tried to wave, but Susan wouldn't let me. All right, next up we have citizen comments. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 citizens that would like to speak, and I just want to say before we get to that, full house. I love citizen participation, so this is awesome. I appreciate each one of you being here for whatever item you are here for. Please be cognizant when you come up to speak. We have a 3-minute time limit. I will set a timer, and if you're going to go a little over, just let me know, but try to be respectful of the 3 minutes so everyone gets a turn. We'll start with Rodney Christian speaking about Lake Chickasha.
Say I've had a spot out there at Chickasha Lake for over 20 years, raised my kids there, my grandkids there, and now they're talking about, running us all off, and there's got to be another way, and I just wanted to ask y'all to do the best you can to figure out another way around that and let us, all of us who stay out there, been out there for these, to have a place out there. And they're saying, June of next year. I don't know if y'all know that it'll even be ready to raise the water level by then, do you? It's going to take a lot to get that thing up and running again. So, you might be a little hasty running us off that early, So that's all I got to say. I just want to make sure everybody takes everybody else into consideration out there. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Bryce Binion, again about Lake Chickasha.
I'm Bryce Binion, 3201 South 16th, Chickasha, Oklahoma. I'm a leasee for Chickasha Lake for all my life. I actually grew up there with all the sunsets and all the joy, and from personally oasis of life and enjoying the lake. We really actually, as leasees, want to know what is the goals for Chickasha with the Lake Chickasha. There's never been, I've seen, a publication of the new venture or bonds. I'm sure it's public knowledge, but what is the plan for the leasees is the first question. Also the goals for Lake Chickasha, or just the city of Chickasha for the lake. I know it's in another county. I understand that it's a watershed and there's a lot of value there. So the last part of this, not last part, but 1955, we want to understand the difference between business and personal. We understand that if we have an opportunity to have that shed of water that was one time not pliable, well, is that now pliable because of chlorine or fluoride? What is the usage of this lake and the purpose of? Personally, I like to know, is the lake for sale? Is the outside perimeters for sale? What is the purpose of the lake for the city? Of how you have to manpower it and keep it safe? How is it that on a lot of levels we've never really talked about this particular part? and recreational for families. What is our goals? And really that's the question of like the people that are on the lake, can they move back? Is it where we can still be able to waterboard or swim or take our kids to be a part of? And then lastly, I understand it's your property. We want to recognize that there has been a lot of adjustments and a lot of attention to it, and that is actually grateful for. So thank you for at least acknowledging that we want to have a community that can use that lake, just like Canton for Oklahoma City Water, or other reservoirs of Fort Cobb to us, or Foss to other areas, or Tenkiller, and so forth. So as a public or leasees, we would just like to understand our plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryce. All right, next, Christine Anderson, in regards to the Festival of Light.
I'm Christine Anderson. I live at 3310 West Idaho Avenue, Chickasha. Let me preface this by saying that I have no issue with Mr. Stockman and Mr. Lastly. I believe that they have both improved and elevated the Festival of Light and its trajectory for the future. My family had the opportunity to sponsor a display for the 2023 season. We chose the Kneeling Soldier and Cross to honor both friends and family members that we have lost and those that are still suffering from disabilities as a result of their military service. It also honors the faith that got us both through our own military service. It took almost a month to get the correct sponsor sign in place, and the brochure did not list my family. Logan diligently worked to correct the sign. Mr. Cohen promised that although the brochure could not be reprinted, it would be correct if we sponsored the display for the next season. Our grace was that we did not go public or post on social media, as we understood mistakes happen. We trusted that the FOL leadership under Mr. Cohen would be able to resolve this issue. When the 2024 season opened, we chose to sponsor the display again with the expectation that the promises of the last season would be fulfilled by Mr. Cohen and the issue would be corrected. We were disappointed. On opening night, we were given our sponsorship sign to install instead of it being placed before the park was open. Instead of getting the correct sign from the last season, we were given a new but incorrect sign. Adding insult to injury, the brochure was still incorrect. It did not list our family as the sponsor. Seriously, they could not match the sponsor with a new sign to the brochure. If this had been a large corporate sponsor, I don't believe that this would have been allowed to slip through the cracks. I contacted the director of the FOL, asked for my sponsorship money for the 2 seasons to be refunded due to the FOL's failure to fulfill the arrangement. I received the refund, but more importantly, I have not had anyone take accountability or offer an apology. We were told that we should offer grace from a member of the city council member. I asked, where's the grace and respect for my family? Where's the respect for my father, who died of complications from Agent Orange? Where's the respect for my late husband, who died of cancer from his chemical exposure while deployed? Where's the grace for my son, who had to call 911 while I performed CPR on his father? And where's the grace for my grandson, who will never meet the man he was named for? Where's the respect for Eric, who was blown up twice while deployed? Where's the grace for his kids and all the community service and volunteerism that we do in this town? I'm sorry, I'm going to run over. All of the individuals, families, businesses, and corporate sponsors should be treated with equal respect. It is the people of Chickasha that sponsor, volunteer, and support this amazing event. By not taking accountability and correcting past issues, the entire event becomes tarnished. Continuing to grow the festival without fixing the cracks and weaknesses of the foundation risk the purpose and integrity of this nationally recognized event. We have heard of other sponsor signs that are still incorrect from previous seasons and have been placed again. We have recommended to them that they contact Mr. Stockman or to do as we have and speak to the City Council. We are simply asking to be treated fairly and respectfully, and we sincerely hope that this incident does not hinder or tarnish our involvement in a community that we volunteer in and has now become our home. With all due grace, this is not a personal attack, but is simply an issue that needs to be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we have Nicole Rosson for closure of alley submitted by Canadian Valley. Did I say your last name right? Close enough. Okay. Horseshoes and hand grenades, right?
I'm sorry?
Nothing, sorry.
I won't take off points for pronunciation. How's that sound?
Okay, thank you.
So Canadian Valley has a proposal before the City Planning Commission and the City Council to close an alleyway in Birchie's North Addition. It's basically across the street from Whispering Pines, where they own several lots. They want to close the north part of the alleyway that runs north and south, and I'm against that. The reason why I'm against the complete closure is because there's several homes there that need that alley in order to access the back side of it. I have a home in the area that I do need to bring some trees in and some heavy equipment. So I need to be able to get to the back of that in order to make that an accessible thing. I think one of the things they need to look at is when they do the design, similar to, I'm gonna use McDonald's here in town for an example. You know, you can go from McDonald's parking lot into the road and then up into Walmart because there's an access point there. It's my understanding they've already designed the parking lot and come to an agreement with Grady County, who's gonna help construct the parking lot. But I think what they failed to take into account is the homes there that need that for access, to have 2 points of access to maintain. You can, well, I hate to use the word access again, but so you can access it. You know, the city's doing a great job. Our city enforcement people are doing a great job doing inspections, getting stuff cleaned up. People are coming in, they're remodeling homes. But in order to do that, if you can't get to the property, you can't do the work. I'm not against them building a parking lot there. I think that they need the extra parking. I've been to a lot of events there over the years, and if you're not there 30 minutes early, you're walking. That school outgrew that parking lot 20 years ago. But the design needs to take into account, I do not believe that that alleyway should be closed. I know there's another access point from the north side versus the south side, but if you're coming and you're making that turn, what if you realize too late that it's closed? Now you have to back down a busy road to get turned around and go a whole block around. We have easements, we have right-of-ways for a reason, so citizens can access it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then we have Mark McPherson for the Chickasha Economic Development Grant.
Thank you, City Council. I should have come here a long time before this, but I just want to thank the City of Chickasha and the Council for the Chickasha Economic Development Grant program. We were awarded a grant about 4 years ago, and it helped us to turn an eyesore building, an eyesore type of building that was in threat of being torn down in the Historic Preservation District, into a viable, thriving place for 4 businesses in the downtown area. We currently have 2 businesses that were new to Chickasha, and we've helped 2 other businesses expand their operations to larger, more appealing spaces. I know this grant program has received a lot of public scrutiny over the use of tax funds, but I want to applaud the City of Chickasha for going forward with projects like ours, Brandy's, Legendary Bikes, Luigi's, El Chetto's, and the Gathering Venue, just to name a few. Some of these businesses continue to thrive while others haven't, and I think that's okay, because our downtown still benefits from the beautifully restored buildings that were made possible by this grants program, ready to be utilized by a future business. The purpose of this grant program was to ensure our downtown didn't become a bunch of uninhabitable, empty spaces like so many downtown areas are. It shouldn't be thought of as a grant for one person or business, but a grant in essence for the revitalization of our downtown to continue to be a vibrant downtown, which is the heart of any city. The grant money invested in downtown buildings will still yield results for many years to come. So again, thanks for being forward-thinking enough to see that the money invested now in preserving and enhancing our downtown will not only support local businesses today, but also yield lasting results, ensuring our community thrives for generations to come. Thank you, City, and thank you, Council.
Thank you. All right, that's all the citizen comments I have. We'll move on to council communications, and we have a police department years of service presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council.
Evening.
Good evening. The Chickasha Police Department has a policy where we recognize our employees in 5-year increments. My opinion, it's not the matter of time that we serve, it's what we do with the time that we serve, the impact that we make in our community. So if I can get Lieutenant Trey Alexander to come up here with me, I'm going to try to give you a snapshot of what 25 years of service has been. Lieutenant Trey Alexander was hired on September 27th of 1999. Over the years, it's been my pleasure to work the streets with him as a patrolman, to serve with him as a supervisor, and to learn from him. Lieutenant Alexander always strives to better himself, his department, and his city. He has served as a patrolman, a field training officer. He served as a bike patrol officer for 6 years. He's been a sergeant, a master sergeant, and has been a commander over criminal investigations. He currently serves as a day shift lieutenant and as the supervisor over the Animal Welfare Division, as well as the records clerk and our municipal court clerk. Lieutenant Alexander is a certified negotiator. He maintains an advanced CSI certification. He is an unspoken symbol of leadership who took his oath seriously, and he keeps that oath by keeping his life unsullied from the world. He's highly respected in our department and in our city. He has participated in who knows how many community events. He has completed 4 science training. He is a certified cleat instructor with an advanced certification. He's an instructor for Below 100, Alive at 25. He has completed cleat management 1, 2, and 3, and Chickasha Leadership Chickasha. Over the past several years, Lieutenant Alexander willingly undertook the oversight of the Citizens Police Academy. And I will tell you, he's taken that to a whole new level. He has never had a sustained complaint. He's increased professionalism and the outlook of the department and our city while willingly taking on numerous tasks over the years. He's always told me that he strove to be the most well-rounded person that he could be. He's quite the comedian, and he's quite the storyteller. I encourage you and I ask you to ask him about 2 things: fire extinguishers and his experience with wildlife in our city. Lieutenant Alexander has received the Chief's Citation of Merit, Chief's Commendation, numerous thank yous from people that he stopped and wrote tickets to. He has been thanked by numerous public officials. He has received several letters of recognition, selected as the Employee of the Quarter. In 2019, he received the Oklahoma Association Chiefs of Police Medal of Honor. He has been nominated more than once for Officer of the Year, and he has, for years, served as our department's unofficial photographer and historian. Tonight it's my pleasure to present my friend, Lieutenant Trey Alexander, with his 25-year service pin, his certificate in recognition of his service, and as far as me and Tracy know, the very first City of Chickasha 25-year pin.
And you make some good barbecue. No, how many times you put it in, that's right. All right, next, Judge Chaffin will administer the police officer oath of office to Christopher Lambert.
Raise your right hand, please. Repeat after me. I, Christopher Lee Lambert, having been duly appointed as a police officer of the City of Chickasha, County of Grady, State of Oklahoma, do solemnly swear that I will defend, enforce, and obey the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, State of Oklahoma, and the ordinances of the City of Chickasha. City of Chickasha. I will obey the lawful orders of my superior officers and the regulations of the City of Chickasha and the Police Department. That I will faithfully discharge my duties and responsibilities as a citizen of the United States. On my honor, I will never betray my badge, my integrity, my character, or the public trust. I will always have courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions. This I do solemnly swear this 16th day of December, 2024. Congratulations.
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 Do it now. Nope, not yet. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
All right, next we have an update on Lake Chickasha.
study done and planning to build a new water treatment plant. Part of that is determining a new water source for the future. As the city grows, water is a very precious commodity, and there's not any more water rights available to us from our present source. It was determined that the best and only source really available is the water from Lake Chickasha. To determine what's going to happen there, it was determined we're going to have to raise the level of that lake. Therefore, in November of this year, there was a letter sent out to the people that lease there that what's happening, and eventually they're going to have to move. It's not going to be an overnight thing to raise the level. First of all, there's many things that must be done. First of all, the Oklahoma Water Resources Board asks us every December to do a report on the lake, the dam, the emergency spillway. Public Works has presently cleared the first part of the emergency spillway, which is was like a forest out there. Never been cleared in years, and lots of trees have been torn down, and they're going to have to be mulched, and we'll spread the mulch all over the land out there to keep it. But it has to be cleared. The rest of the spillway to the south of the dam and the dam road will be done at a later date. So as we move forward with what we're doing on the spillway, it has to be cleared. Also, there's a lot of work that has to be done to the dam. In the next month or two, there'll be a proposal coming to you so we can do a bid to fix the dam. There are areas that the rocks have been removed. There's some holes, not in the dam, but the washout areas that are going to have to be repaired. After that is done, we'll have to fix the road on the dam, because when you bid and you get your equipment out there, the road's in very poor shape. We've been told to fix it also, but it's a very easy fix, but again, it's going to take time to get that done. And after all that is done, then we'll have to close the cut that was made years ago in there and go back to the original gates that were put in on and we will shut that down. And this is going to allow water to raise the level back to the original level of the lake that was planned. As that water level comes up, those people that have leases out there and have various buildings out there, they will be affected and be flooded. Therefore, we're giving them notice they're going to have to be moved. And we will continue to give them notice so they will be aware that they've got plenty of time to move and get out there. It's not an emergency today, but over the next few years, it is going to happen that the water level will start coming up, and we will keep them apprised, and they know what they can look and see the water level come up. If they need to move those various trailers, whatever event they have items they have out there, to get them out of the way. And again, it's going to take time, but this will give people plenty of opportunity to find another deal. And during this time, we're going to have to build some new camping grounds out at the lake. It's not going to happen overnight, but these facilities, and it has been recommended that when we do this, that these new leases that we have will be like most parks, and this will be something the council can decide on at a later date, that there will be, normally those leases are you can lease it for 2 weeks at a time, then you can move to another location if you want to. But that limits people from having permanent facilities out there and take care of some of the problems that we face. But again, this is a long-term solution. Again, there's not going to be any huge rains that I know of that are going to come in that's going to raise that level 2 or 3 feet overnight. Usually it's over a 4 to 5, maybe 10-year period until you can raise the level of the lake. It depends on the rains that you get. And again, if you look at this last year, it ain't going to be raising it that much with we just haven't had that much rain. And we'll have to look at it. And that's where we are. But that's the plan for the lake. And we plan to move forward on it. And like I say, we've been given, like I say, I know at least 5 to 7 years to fix the dam and the spillway from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. And we're just moving forward to get that type of work done. I'd be glad to answer any question the council may have.
No, the water had a lot of gypsum in it. Is that changed?
The what?
The water had a lot of, or a high gypsum content. Is that changed, or is that?
Well, I think a lot of this will change as the water level goes up. It will change to some degree. It is something we'll have to treat. And yes, it will be treated in the new treatment plant. And we plan on doing that, and, you know, as a new plant is finished. But, again, all water, surface water contains all types of minerals and everything else, and there's ways we can treat that and make it very, very potable.
So I'm hearing you right, the new treatment plant will be able to treat the water out of Lake Chickasha?
I think if we have to do reverse osmosis, the plant can be adjusted to do that, is my understanding. And that'd be the hardest thing you'd have to do if you need reverse osmosis. That'd be the most hardest treatment you'd go to do that. Yes, sir.
Jim, did I hear you correctly that when you say raising a water level, it's to the originally planned height?
Yes, sir.
When the lake was created, did Bryce say 1955 is when the lake was?
Yes, for some reason, there were gates put in the spillway. I think that somebody was told that sometime years back, the water level got real high and somebody got nervous about it and they went and cut another hole in the spillway. It does not have a gate to it. It's just sitting there just wide open. That's what the water cannot rise any more than it is at the present time because of that spillway. But when that's shut down, you didn't have two gates that go up, but you'd only go to the first gate, and that's what the one that we would use as a spillway.
Jim, I feel obligated to ask this question because of the prominent news source that is Facebook. You know, you see that somebody said that there was all recreation was going to stop. There's no truth to that, right? Or people still be able to enjoy the lake.
People can be able to enjoy the lake. They can fish. They can boat. Do whatever. And again, the plan is ultimately to have more campgrounds and just at a higher level. That's what's presently out there.
You said it could take up to 10 years, depending upon rain, to raise the water level. You know, we don't know. We don't know what rainfall looks like, so you can't say 10 years, can't say 2 years.
I'd say to get that height, it'd take at least 10 years to get to that level.
Is there any way, and it's just me spitballing, because I know the biggest point of contingent here is going to be people losing their annual leases. Is there any way to phase it out? You know, pull the closest ones, maybe not renew those, and then move back 2 to 3 years from now as the water rises, do those? Or
well, I think you're looking at a couple of years first before you close the gate. You know, so I mean, there's more than just 1 year's notice or 2 years' notice. You're several years away from doing that. Then you're several years away for the water level even to go up. And again, that depends on rainfall and what have you. But most lakes, it takes 20 to 30 years to fill up. But you're raising 10 foot of water, approximately 10 foot of water. You're talking about a long-term deal to raise that level up.
What was the thought process behind going ahead and not renewing the annual contracts this year if it's going to take a few years to get to the point where we're at? I'm just curious. I'm just wanting to know
I wasn't involved in that, but I'm sure it was just to let people know what the plans were so people could be aware of what's coming down the pike. And somebody says, I wasn't never notified, things of that nature. And that's why I say I think we will continue to notify them and keep them updated on where we are on the process and where the water level is going to be. And if the water level starts rising, we'll certainly let them know. But they have several years at least to stay out there and enjoy the lake at the present deal. But eventually, they're going to have to move for the lake to come up. Not all of them. The houses that are way at the top, I think there's like 3 facilities up there that, structures, and they won't be affected at all. They're way above the water level.
Those are permanent ones.
Those are permanent, and they won't be affected at all.
So how much longer will Fort Cobb be viable for water for us?
Well, we'll still go water for Fort Cobb. I think Fort Cobb, is my understanding, they're doing a study now to even see if they can meet the present water rights that they're giving to people. They have no more to give, and they're talking about the life of the lake, and if they cut back our water, if they cut everybody's back, we're going to have another water source.
Right.
And again, that's why we're looking at Lake Chickasha and to do that. And so we don't know what, that study hasn't been completed yet, so I couldn't answer it.
Okay.
But I do think most lakes, as these studies come down, they do cut back on what your water rights are, because a lake becomes, sediment comes into the lake, it changes the level of the lake, and how much water is actually there, how many acre feet you can pull a year. And I think ultimately our water rights will be reduced out there.
Anybody have anything else for Jim?
Do we know how much sediment's in Lake Chickasha right now?
Talking about how many acre feet of water, what's available out there?
Well, I know probably what it was designed for, but I also know the whole north end of it's only, well,
Yeah.
20 years ago when I was out there, it was maybe waist deep.
And I know years back, the city did draw water in an emergency situation from Lake Chickasha, in looking back at the records. But that's years back. And, but in the short term, yes, Lake Chickasha could supply our water, but the lake is a relatively shallow lake. And to improve the quality of that, you need to raise that level of the lake.
Now, the spillway y'all were talking about knocking the trees out of and stuff, is that the spillway on the south side of the dam where the pipe extends out? Or is that an emergency spillway up on top?
Yes, that was an emergency spillway, and we should have kept it cleared every year. And it is cleared today on the area north of the dam. But the area south of the dam has not been cleared yet. And
Is that on the west side of the dam?
what's that?
Is that on the west side of the dam?
Down on the west side of the dam, yes.
Yeah.
Mayor, I've got a question for Jim. Is it the city's position that recreationally nobody will have in the future more than perhaps a 2-week commitment from any kind of lease?
That was one of the proposals, as I understand, that was made. I did not make that. But that was things that handle some of the problems with gray water, things of that nature that has been contributed to the level of the lake, and I mean to the quality of water in the lake. Is not all the facilities, some of the facilities do a wonderful job out there, but some people do, and we do know that, and have stopped them from putting gray water in the lake. They use a lot of water in those facilities. If you look at what the average family uses in water, and they don't take it and get it pumped out, or they don't take it up and do it, it goes into the lake. Well, that hurts the quality of the lake, of the drinking water. And so, one of the things they talk about was limiting that to 2 weeks. As most campgrounds that you look at, there's a 2-week limit. We're the only place we know of that has full-time, year-round people sitting there that could come and do that. Maybe there are others, I'm not aware of it, but that was something that came from the parks area that they were talking about in that area, putting a 2-week limit. I'm just quoting what they talked about in the past, but again, that'll be for this council to make that decision. And you all could determine whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and vote your conscience at that time.
Were you letting us know that a complete remake of the gates is coming, or are we going to put an underwater welder down there to close the hole that we torched open at one time?
Well, it's really simple. I mean, it's not that easy, but you can close that gate. The hole that's cut in there, we can block that off at any time. That's not a major problem. But I think we need to give people plenty of notice, and that's what I think the city was trying to do when they sent that letter out. Is let everybody know what the future holds, and to try to keep them notified every year where we stand, so they understand where they are.
Thank you for answering my question.
All right.
Anybody got anything else?
On communications?
Yeah, about that.
I knew, on this.
No, you're good. Go ahead. We'll move right into, if we have council communications, let's go ahead.
Other communications?
That's right.
Yes, Mayor. Question to the appropriate parties. Is there an update for council and the citizens on the water that's standing on Frisco? Just a little bit to the west of 9th Street. It just seems like you're driving through water there all the time, and I don't know if that's a private issue or if the city's involved with something that's leaking.
I think we have a problem in that area with the valve. They've been aware of it, and they fixed it once, and then it broke again.
Oh,
We're
okay.
gonna have to dig it back up and repack it and see if that fixes it. If not, they gotta put a new valve in it on
Okay.
Frisco Road.
Something we'd be working on soon, or do you know any?
Well, right now, we're, got that big break that the company that was doing the boring hit our line out on 4th Street. And hopefully they're finishing that today, and then hopefully sometime over the Christmas break, we will get out on Frisco and get that one taken care of.
That sounds like our own crew from the city can fix that, hopefully.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Jim, did we get that, those potholes that we talked about on Country Club out towards?
Yes, sir. They got all the country club, and I met with the lady out there and explained to her for that area that the road is an oil and chip. She kept talking about the dirt. Well, there's not much of a surface on that road. And to fix it in the short term, I told her that if we ever get some nice warm days, we will get some hot mix and we will use our own grader, and we will put a surface on that little short distance where the main problem is. Most of the road is in really pretty good shape until you go over that hill past the development area and you head towards towards the railroad tracks, and we will get that taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, that pothole out on Old Highway 9 and Highway 81 at that intersection, right south of the railroad tracks, no one's done anything about it. It's in bad shape. You have to you have to go out into the bar ditch to not hit that hole.
Oh, wow. Sits on 9th and
It's on Old Highway 9.
Old 62.
Old Highway 9.
And Highway 81, or Old Highway 62. It's right by the Highway 81 and the railroad tracks, hook her right before you hit the railroad tracks. All the semis have to go in there to go into that travel plaza, and it's a mess.
Well, I'll send a crew out and see if we can get it taken care of, sir.
It was a concrete road at one time, and now it's just, it's a mess.
you got anything else?
I do. I want to brag a little bit.
All right.
I had a girl that we sort of adopted, flew in from Chambersburg, Pennsylvania this past Friday, specifically to go to the Festival of Light. She's big into Christmas lights, and I kept telling her, you got to come and see it. And she left saying that was the most fabulous light display she'd ever seen in her life. And we had gone to Nashville in 2019 and went out to Opryland to see the lights. And she said that there was no way that Nashville could compare to Chickasha. So it was pretty impressive.
You said she flew in from where?
Chambersburg, Pennsylvania.
She must really like lights.
Yep, she does. She does.
Thank you for that, John.
I've got one thing, Mayor. We were talking about water treatment. That made me think about when's our next update from the engineers for the water treatment plant and the proposed land that it's going to be placed on.
We will have an update in January and have full report. Let you know they're 60% complete. They'll be moving to a 90% completion date. And we will bring that whole report and bring it to you in January, sir.
Okay.
That's our plan.
Thank you very much.
All right, if there's nothing else, we'll move on to item 4, consent docket.
We accept the consent docket as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Nelson.
Yes.
Ginn.
Yes.
Hebblethwaite.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Burris.
Abstain.
Gertis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 6A, public hearing, discuss, consider, and use on review permit for 234 East Grand Avenue for applicant, and I'm going to butcher this name. Does somebody know how to pronounce this name? Abound Sansal?
Abood Sousa.
What?
Abood Sousa.
Say it
Abood Sousa.
for that name. And I apologize if they're here. I knew that I would murder that name.
Murdered it too.
It is, you wait on me. It is 7:16. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anybody would like to speak on this topic? And again, I apologize about the name. Hooked on Phonics did not work for me.
So what is the, I don't see it here, it's a use on review, but what's the breakdown of that, Ms. Rachel?
Figure everyone can hear me better from up here. So this is gonna be for a liquor store in the tenant space next to Jimmy's Egg that was never developed. So it's the same owner that owns Bronco Corner. He's not moving, he's just opening an additional liquor store location. The planning commission recommended for approval. We did not have any phone calls or emails for or against regarding this matter.
So it wasn't already zoned correctly, it's use on review, so.
So anytime we open a liquor store, they have to have a special use permit, regardless of zoning. So it's zoned correctly, it's zoned appropriately, they have to obtain a special permission to sell liquor by the bottle.
Rachel, did I hear you say this is actually in a space that's never been occupied before?
I do not believe this has been occupied before,
Thank
no,
you.
sir.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Anybody else? It is 7:18. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Move on to 6B, discussion, consideration, of possible action to approve ordinance 24-07 for use on review permit to allow liquor store and alcohol sales at 234 East Grand Avenue for applicant Kelly. Will you say the name for me?
Abood Sousa.
There we go.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve that.
Okay, I have a second. Second. Discussion? Roll call.
Evelthwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn. Yes. Grayson.
Yes. Item 6C, public hearing to discuss and consider the request to close the alley between Block 98 and Block 1 of Birchie's 4th addition to the city of Chickasha, Grady County, State of Oklahoma for applicant Canadian Valley Technology Center. It is 7:19. Go ahead and open the public hearing.
Brent Casey, Canadian Valley Technology Center. We're requesting the closure of the alley that extends through our property. We're in the process. We have a design of 138 parking spots for our high school students to park, so we're requesting the portion of the alley that extends through the lower section there, so that way we can utilize all that without having to worry about traffic coming through as students are entering or leaving, as well as to be able to secure that parking lot on the nights and weekends. So with your approval, we'll move ahead working with the county to design or continue to design and build of that parking lot across the road from our main campus. Any questions I can answer?
Do you have the proposed plan for the parking, how it's laid out? And what
I do. Would you like to see that?
Yes, please.
Oh, she is it? Okay. There we go. Yep. So in the left section we have, I think it's 106. On the right lower section we have 32 spots. But with that, we can allow students to flow back and forth, and then have one entrance and egress, both there on Michigan and then also on that side road on the right.
Where on here was that, the closure of that alley, where does that run in your plans here?
feels.
Like where would it be if it was still, yeah?
This section right here. Section right here, that's our property line. Well, both of these are our properties, but we'll close that section out through the middle of that parking lot design.
And there's consideration being given to the property owners that are on that alley, like the young lady that got up and spoke about access to the back of their
There'll
house.
still be access to the backside of those properties.
You said there will be?
There will be, yes.
Just not through the parking lot, right?
No, just not through the parking lot, correct. So the backside of those properties, again, as you look on the right side there, that alley can still extend through there. We can design it to where it'll be on the, I guess, the right side, but also it will not extend through the new parking lot.
Sorry, what was that last thing?
It will not extend through the parking lot section. But the property can be accessed, the adjacent property can be accessed on the backside there between the parking lot and their fence.
Is it accessed off of Frisco then? Is that what that is? Is that Frisco?
Yes.
It'll be, if we're talking about the property, I'm going to come again. If we're talking about the property here, the alley can still be there behind that parking lot. It just can't go extend through the parking lot.
So the alley in question, she would still be able to access that onto Frisco. So this is technically the right of way right here. This right here is not an alley. It's a utility easement.
Right.
So if they're driving in it, it's not an alley. But the alley will just, there'll still be access to the back of that particular lot. This is her lot right there.
Okay.
Right there. So this is dead end, yes, sir, into that, but they would still have access to the back of their property.
So coming in off of Frisco down the alley and then into the utility easement.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna have a fence around that or something? Is it gonna be fenced?
We'll have a gate on both sides so that way we can secure the parking lots on the nights and weekends. Like the rest of our campus, we have just a small pop fence with a gate on it.
Only on the street side or all the way around?
Well, I don't have the exact plans, but it'll be on the street side, but also we'll have a gate on the entrances of any of those parking lots to prevent access to it.
I was just wondering what would keep you from, I mean, I understand you're not wanting people to just drive through it all the time, but, you know, even, like she said, sometimes it can be a pain to back out if you're, you know, if you're needing to get in there. I mean, would it hurt to make an easement where they could pull through into the parking lot? I mean, I don't know how much traffic goes down that alley. There shouldn't be much traffic going down an alley anyways, but, you know, that way once in a blue moon that they might need to, they could get through.
Yeah, I've seen very little traffic, but again, our students are parking there now because we're out of parking spots, so they're, you know, parking over there now on the grass, so
Yeah.
we need to get that constructed as soon as possible.
So if there were to be construction and say they need to bring a truck and trailer there, could they come to you and ask, can we park in the lot or drive through so we're not backing a trailer all the way down the alley?
Well, it'll be curved across there.
Okay.
So on the north side of our lot, it'll have a curve, around the perimeter
Okay.
to help the watershed, so.
Mayor, before we finish, would it be okay if Ms. Rosen were to point at the map? If she had anything that would help me understand more of what her position is?
Of course.
Would you be willing to do that, Ms. Rosen? We're looking at what appears to be an aerial photo with some rectangular outlines.
Fancy pointer and all.
So this is the north-south alley that you do have access to both the south and the north side. Right here, there's a church. These alleys here, or excuse me, these lots are really long. They're super deep because they haven't been subdivided into tiny lots that you see in some other parts of the area. Directly to the west of the church is a lot that I have. I have from this road all the way up to where this tree is. It would be the approximate property line.
Thank you for showing us that. Thank you, Mayor.
So is the design completed?
We do have a design. We're just waiting on the county to be able to start the work. And it has been approved through the county as well to do a joint project.
Are you guys engineering this yourselves at CV Tech?
No, it's been engineered by our architect firm, MA+.
Okay. So have you run these scenarios through to them to see if there's options that would be that could be amiable for both parties, or?
Well, I mean, it's going to, if we allow that, it's going to allow access to that parking lot. And you look at safety and security, you look at, being able to flow through there, but by blocking that off, we don't have to worry about that. Also, for nights and weekends, we can keep it secure. So that was our position. But yet, we're still being respectful to the property owners that adjoin there. They can still access that to get to the backside if they need to. Like the house you see over there in the corner there, if they need to get in there, they can still access that. But we're just trying to close what's going through our property itself.
So Rachel, do we have to close the entire alleyway?
The VOTEC is trying to correct a major issue they have currently. They have people and staff that have to park across the street in the grass, which is against our ordinances currently. They do not have enough parking spaces. So this is their overall goal here. I don't want to lose sight of that. But we're just closing a portion. We're not closing all the way to Frisco. There's still access to Frisco.
Okay, I guess I didn't see that
That was
determination.
the point of having him draw, I apologize if I was confusing in my item. That was the point of having him draw out where it is on the site with the black squares, because we're only closing a small portion. Access will still be available from Frisco. Where she turns behind her lots, that's not an alley, that's a utility easement, which we could never close, because PSO won't let us close something that we have power lines in. So that access is always going to be there.
Right, I just wanted to see if we weren't vacating the whole alley, then that's still city. Are you gonna determine what footage that is from?
So ultimately, we do not have the right to vacate anything. This goes to ultimately district court for the VOTEC and all the utility companies. So the Planning Commission and the City Council close, and then it will go to district court for vacation, and they will deliver actual footage. Yes, sir.
So, but currently it's city alleyway easement, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Even though it's CV Tech's property, they still honor an easement with the city and an alleyway.
Technically, it's our property.
Right. So we have to determine how much of that alley we are allowing them to close then, in essence.
Now, what is the depth?
Right.
That we're going to close on the alley?
I believe in their design they provided the footage. I'd have to go back. I don't think I can quote it.
That previous slide where it had the parking lot design.
That block should be 300 feet long.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the dimensions on this. They have it on here, but I can't read it.
So
how
the
deep
intent
it
is for us to go ahead and close that piece of the alleyway, and then you'll go and file with the district court to gain deed to that piece that we've closed.
It would be like kind of the process that you did, Mr. Smith.
Right. I was just wondering how deep we're going to go there.
Well, it looks like a third of it.
No, I don't think so, because
whatever the depth of that.
From Frisco down to the, if we're talking about the
it'll
whole
go
alleyway.
I think it goes all the way down past that small block into the rectangular block. Okay. That's where it'll close. Right. So that one house will still have alley access. Yes. Is that right?
I'm going to point again. Yeah, we're essentially going to close just from this corner down.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Right.
Okay.
Just again through our property. The adjacent's open.
That's the clarity I was looking for.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Rachel, had this at one time when the tech center would have taken possession of these, would there have been a transfer or a change from perhaps residential in that area to whatever zoning would need to be done for the parking lot?
They're allowed to have parking in residential. Schools and churches are allowed in residential zoning.
Okay.
So this is considered a continuation of school
Or-
because every school, every church has a parking lot.
A continuation of R1?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey, Rachel, why does that alley not go east to west along the power line easement?
That's a Chickasha OT question. We have a couple of those. I'm not exactly sure. There's some lots in other parts of town where your fences are just, I mean, and there's no man's land back there that people have to mow. I mean, this is not the only place.
Mr. Casey, has your organization considered what kind of development could be done and leaving the alley open? Was there ever at a point that you put that to a design or numbers or anything?
We have not. I mean, that was the preliminary design from the architect firm in order to maximize our parking spots without having the alley and having a curb that, around the alley there. So all along, and also trying to secure it, because if we do, then we have to secure 2 different lots instead of one lot.
What are you securing them for? Is this a nighttime or is it
Just
actually
for
a day?
nights and weekends, just so we don't have people parking there or doing things, so we have access. We can close our entire campus off with gates.
Is that currently a gravel?
It's grass right now. We're parking on grass.
No, I mean the alleyway. It
Yes,
looks,
it's
it's just
gravel.
beat down grass surface. Okay. So you'll be setting in concrete, you're going to be putting footings and everything, right up to the easement of that, or right up to the alleyway.
We'll do curb and gutter and then asphalt parking lot, yeah.
Okay.
Rachel, how much of a setback does there have to be on the alley easement? Because since we're not going to take up the entire alley, how much of a setback has to be set there?
Without having the ordinance in front of me, and that specific zoning, I do believe is R1. I think they have to be 10 feet from the alley.
So it'd be 15 feet from center.
That's technically for structures. I'd have to go back and look at it.
Because I think alley easements are 10-foot easements, and I think it's 15 feet from center, if I remember.
I believe
I
so.
think.
They have not asked to not have to meet all of our requirements in our development code. So they're going to meet all of our standard requirements. Any parking lot would have to.
Anything else?
Mr. Casey, has your organization made any other plans in that block with other property that your organization may have owned currently?
As far as other structures or?
Just any plans?
We have not. We're in the process of acquiring that just for future expansion because, again, we're fixing to do a remodel on the main campus, but in the future, the only place we have to go is across the road. So we're trying to think ahead and get the parking lot, designed and laid out. So when we are ready in the future to build, we have that available to us. So.
Thank you.
Rachel, did I hear you correctly on that utility easement there? That's not something we could ever close. So even if the VOTEC expanded to the back of their property line, that area would still be left open as it currently is because we couldn't close it.
That's a PSO matter, yes.
Okay.
PSO will not allow that to be closed.
What's the distance from the northern most part of your parking lot to the easement? That, spot that doesn't have the black square around it?
From the easement to the north side of the proposed parking?
So, yeah, I'm talking about the utility easement south of
I do not have that dimension.
is it 50
I don't
feet?
see it anywhere as far as what the remaining distance is there between our parking lot and the north end of our property.
So what's the depth of the lot? And then just subtract out the length of your parking lot there.
Should be 140 feet deep.
140?
It should be 140
Yeah,
feet.
it looks like 140 feet deep from north to south on the long part.
A little bit about that.
And then it's like 150 wide, maybe. I'm reading that right.
So from the street to the northernmost part of your parking lot, what's that length? So the deepest,
From Frisco, you're saying down?
no.
Or
Is it Michigan Avenue?
Michigan's a little lower, yeah.
Yeah, Michigan north to your northernmost part of your parking lot. What's that distance on your plan?
Oh, that would be 100, that's the 140 I was talking about.
But it shows on that picture that you're leaving, 25 feet, maybe? 30 feet between you and the easement? The
Oh,
utility
yeah,
easement?
right. Between us and the north side, yes. I don't have that dimension, but it does not encompass that easement.
There's no fence. Yeah. She can turn around in there. Empty lot.
Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. It is 7:38. I'd like to close the public hearing. Item 6D, discussion, consideration of possible action to approve ordinance number 2408, request to close alley behind Block 98 and Block 1 of Birchie's 4th Edition, the City of Chickasha, Grady County, State of Oklahoma, for applicant Canadian Valley Technology Center.
Make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2024-08 as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
I feel like we're putting a burden on property owners, adjacent property owners. To move forward, I believe we would.
Nothing else? Do a roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
No.
Gertis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
No.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. At this time, I'd like to take a motion to recess City of Chickasha. We'll come back to number 7 work session after we work through the other 2 boards.
Make a motion that we adjourn City of Chickasha Council.
Second.
Roll call. Oh, sorry. We have
Motion to recess, sorry. Getting ahead of myself there.
What?
I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my voice
Got
for the
supper at the house or
night's over.
something? All right, motion to recess. Still got the second for that?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris, Gertis,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. All right, recessed. We will move on to the City Municipal Authority. Need a roll call, please.
Boyd,
Here.
Nelson,
Here.
Ginn,
Here.
Ebblethwaite,
Here.
Smith,
Present.
Alexander,
Here.
Burris, Gertis,
Here.
Grayson.
Here. Item number 2, consent docket.
Move we accept as presented.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris, Gertis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4A, discussion consideration of possible action to authorize 2-inch overlay type B asphalt for Cottonwood Road, CR 1390, east of Railroad, tracks to Sooner Road, amount not to exceed $97,790, as per interlocal agreement with Grady County District 2.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Ginn,
Yes.
Ebblethwaite,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Alexander,
Yes.
Burris,
Yes.
Gertis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 5, motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
We're adjourned. I'd like to call the Chickasha Municipal Airport Authority to order. Need a roll call, please.
Boyd.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Ginn. Here. Ebelthwaite.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Alexander.
Here.
Burris.
Here.
Gertis.
Here.
Grayson.
Here. Item 2, consent docket.
Move we accept the consent docket as presented.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Nelson.
Yes.
Ginn.
Yes.
Ebelthwaite.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Burris.
Abstain.
Gertis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4A, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve proposal from Mile High Air Boss for the 2025 Wings on Wheels Air Show and Car Show, and authorize the mayor to execute contract for the same with fees not to exceed $3,250.
I move we approve the proposal from Mile High Air Boss for the 2025 Wings and Wheels Air Show and Car Show. Authorize the mayor to execute a contract for the same with the fees not to exceed $3,250.
Second.
Discussion.
This the same folks from last year?
Shay?
The Schultz last year?
No, sir, it is not the same organization as last year. Our previous air boss with David Schultz Air Shows unfortunately passed away.
Oh.
Yep. Other questions?
Question. It talks about number 6 on a certain page, interface with appropriate FAA agencies, and 2 of them I circled. I've never heard of these acronyms before. FSDO, and I think IIC. I'm just curious what that is.
From what I understand, he will interface with all aeronautical agencies that are required. I am not an aeronautics expert, so I cannot confidently tell you what those are.
I was see Darren over your shoulder. I was, do we know what that is? FSDO.
He would.
Basically, from what I understand, he's going to take care of all of the air boss responsibilities for us that include any of the federal agencies or.
Got the expert coming up.
Yes.
So,
here we go.
yeah, the FSDO, that stands for Flight Standards District Office.
Thank you.
We have one of those in Oklahoma City, and they'll be down and inspect the airplanes before the show.
Okay.
Then IAC is International Aerobatics Committee, and that approves the folks that are that put on the aerobatic show.
Thank you.
The actual performers. And yeah, Bruce died of a heart attack while he was at an air show.
Oh.
So we had to move on to somebody else. And this company, Mile High, while they're in California, I think they're in Colorado, Mile High, Denver. But one of the guys who has helped us along the way works for them. So that's our connection. So we do have a kind of a local connection with this Mile High bunch.
He's from Oklahoma, the gentleman who's worked with us.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Alan Mitchell.
Alan, he's the one that he does some of the announcing. He has done announcing at our previous shows for portions of the show.
Thank you, Shay and Mitch. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you. Any other questions? Sorry. Escape.
I think we're good. Thank you. Now, roll call, please.
Ginn.
Yes.
Ebelthwaite.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Alexander.
Yes.
Burris.
Yes.
Gertis.
Yes.
Boyd.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Grayson.
Yes. Item 4B, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve a contract for sale for Chickasha Industrial Property to OHIT Corp., northeast quarter and the northeast half of the southeast quarter of Section 7, Township 7 North, Range 7, and the south half of the southeast quarter of Section 6, Township North, Range 7 West of NM Meridian, Grady County, Oklahoma, a 320-acre or more or less service and service rights only.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to postpone this indefinitely.
I'll second that.
Discussion on that?
Yeah, I think my question would be on that. do we need to adhere to competitive bidding, or do we need to open up, from a realtor standpoint, are we represented on that property from a realtor? It looks like there was a realtor. I don't know if that was, that's probably representing buyer, but I was wondering what the stance should be from the city with 320 acres as far as competitive bidding. What's the state say about that, and if we're in line with how we should, our practices with offering that property? So I had that question.
But it isn't required.
It is required?
It is not required.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is at market value. If we go to public auction, then you're paying, commissions and stuff that we wouldn't necessarily be paying here.
Right. So
I mean, for decades, this land has sat vacant, and we've done nothing with it. And everybody wants, everybody's biggest complaint with the EDC and the chamber is that they're not bringing businesses into town. Well, there's not just a whole lot of places to bring larger corporations or businesses in the town. And here's somebody who's willing to risk his funds and help Chickasha to grow. I think we would be making a mistake not to go forward. I mean, we've sat idle for so long on so many things, and we finally had some momentum going, and then we decide over what might be a couple $100 more an acre, maybe. I don't feel that's the right decision to not go forward.
I can appreciate your talking points there, Georgianne, but that is not my question at all. It's about our stance as a city, how we should be handling our property, not the question of how, or, what method we develop and all that has nothing to do with it. It has
But
everything.
it's not required.
Yeah, that was my question. So I don't understand your talking points.
I'm just saying that Mr. Burris said, would like to indefinitely.
So a question was asked and answered, so that I'm pretty much done with that point. But I appreciate you laying that out there, so.
All right, we have, I think, a motion to postpone. I don't think it's the right word, but I guess table, right?
Was there a motion, or is it just?
Mr. Burris did motion to postpone indefinitely. I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but what? Mr. Smith.
I would be
seconded.
troubled by the term indefinitely. It seems to me that there ought to be a time certain. If the council wants to bring it back before, at a later time, that's probably a different matter, but.
But we have to address this motion before we can move on to.
Correct.
Another one, correct?
Yeah.
Or
I would recommend a discussion and vote on that motion, and then, depending on the outcome, move forward with whatever.
We can discuss, why we want to postpone, or, what the plans are for this. I mean,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Mr. Hitt has a presentation, and I would like to hear it.
yeah, I mean, and I understand going to auction. I thought of the same thing, but then, the problem with selling at auction, you don't know who's buying it, what they're going to do with it, and what their plans are. So, and that's my, my contention, but I think, and I'm not a big fan of selling land, I've said that before, but then again, like Georgianne said, we haven't done anything with this.
When does the lease expire on that land?
The 1 year.
Every year.
The ag lease expires at the end of the year.
The ag lease will expire June 30th?
Yes, June 30th.
June 30th?
Correct.
Do we have to address Charlie's before we can go any further here, or are we in discussion?
I think since we're still just talking about the item, we could have discussion on, like, if, Mr. Hitt, if you want to come up and present your plans for that property, I would.
Are we ignoring my motion?
No, we're in discussion.
No, we're further discussion. Some of
About
us
the
would like to
motion?
know about the agenda item.
About the agenda item, the motion to postpone indefinitely is brought forth and seconded.
Yeah, we're in discussion about that.
We can still discuss on the agenda item, and part of what the proposed plan on the agenda item is part of that discussion in my head.
That sounds like it defeats the purpose of the motion.
Okay, so we need to vote on the motion.
That would be my advice, yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second to postpone this agenda item indefinitely. Any more discussion on the proposed postponement?
For reason of it being,
How long does indefinitely mean?
Well,
Forever?
first we need to hear from Charlie, I think,
What do you consider indefinitely?
I don't think you can speak yet, Mr. Hitt.
Thank you.
I think we
Sorry,
got,
sorry, Mr. Hitt, I think I called you up too soon.
not
It's my
trying to
fault.
be, just saying.
I was just going to explain with the gravity of this being what we've identified before as a really jam in our town is our airport. And this property next to it is a very fine property. And it has, with public money, been enhanced with more than a mile-long road. It's as smooth as any street in our town. It's 30 foot wide with industrial asphalt curbs. It has city water been brought to it and an electrical line that's quite fine. And I find that making a decision of such gravity, receiving our packet about a Friday night and over the weekend to discuss, and right before I pop in the shower, I get information back from an appraiser that I've been trying to reach out to who wasn't comfortable talking to me until they found out that I had permission from the person that we hired in about June of this year, of which, Mr. Mayor and Mr. City Manager, I thought we didn't have anything working on these matters. And something's been in place since June because maybe a businessman wanted to have some anonymity or whatever, but there's matters been brought forth to this council of which we didn't know about. And so for the time that we've had to wait to review such an important thing that's been in possession of our community for so long, I ask that we postpone it indefinitely. When there's something that's gone wrong or there's something you want to discuss, it's hard to say when you will be able to have those answers. So to table it,
indicate that we can't bring it back.
to table it would mean we're going to talking about it the next time we get together. I don't know if we'll have the answers at that time.
But saying indefinitely,
Than, what was the term that you used?
Postpone indefinitely.
Yeah, postpone indefinitely. If you would prefer to change your motion to tabling this item, I think that meets the goal of what you just described.
That would also mean we wouldn't even hear the presentation that proposed use of this property. Doesn't mean we have to approve it, but it means we wouldn't even get to hear it. So we still wouldn't know what's been going on.
Correct.
If his motion is approved.
If only it carries, correct.
Well, actually, we could hear the plan at a work session, which is what I would think is probably what Mr. Burris is leading to, is that we need to hear this plan like we should be legislating through work sessions instead of just dumped on an agenda item, and then we got no time to really legislate or consider or to weigh it. We've been doing this all this year, so here we are yet again. So Mr. Hick would more than be, gracious enough to come to a work session and, just like anybody else could. That way we could hear it as legislators instead of just here, we're doing it once again, in the middle of a council session. So I would also encourage Mr. Burris to change it to a tabling in lieu of work session, so it doesn't go away. It just needs to be handled differently, because I think we ought to hear it. We ought to hear the idea, and we ought to weigh it.
If you don't table the item and you have that discussion tonight, you don't have to vote to approve, but you would have the information that you seem to be wanting to know what his plans are for the. So in effect, you could have the same thing as a work session.
So with this motion we have right now,
With this motion right now, it
Mr.
sounds
Hick
like.
can still present his plan, right?
I don't believe so.
So the motion is to to indefinitely do away with it. Mr. Burris, would you be willing to amend your motion to table?
You know, we could vote on this one, and somebody else could bring that up if that's what needs to happen.
Okay, so we're still postponing it indefinitely.
And if I can speak to that, Georgianne, you mentioned about market value, and my first look at this matter, I do the simple calculations, and I'm going, that's agriculture value. My family bought this summer, less than 2 miles from there, a little less acreage, but about 200 acres of similar land, without a road, without city water, and without the fine electrical line running through it, for $5,100 an acre. And this is about to be given away to a developer that had exclusive access to it and not a fair market. And this is where we got to represent our citizens here.
I would caution
the
the
exclusive access.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's,
I would caution the council that you're now discussing the item.
Okay, so we need to clear the motion on the motion first before we take any more discussion.
That would be my advice.
All right, we have a motion and a second to postpone this indefinitely. Need a roll call, please.
Hebblethwaite.
I want to make sure that I get this correct. No means I am not for. No.
Smith.
Yes.
Alexander.
No.
Burris.
Yes.
Gertis.
No.
Boyd.
No.
Nelson.
No.
Ginn.
No.
Grayson.
No. I would entertain another motion.
Make a motion that we approve the purchase with OHIT Corporation. It's not exactly, for the contract for sale for Chickasha Industrial Park property to OHIT Corp, northeast quarter and the north half of the section, southeast quarter, the section 7, township 7 north, range 7 west, and the south half of the southeast quarter of section 6, township 7 north, range 7 west of the Indian Meridian, Grady County, Oklahoma, 320 acres more or less, surface and surface rights only.
Second.
Motion and a second. Part of the discussion, I would like to have Mr. Hitt come up so he can present his proposed use for this property.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chip.
Okay, let me explain how this came down. I flew in here in my plane and I saw a road to nowhere. I took a minute and I went to Rachel and I said, what is that road that goes to nowhere? She says, that's our industrial park. I said, it doesn't look very industrial to me. What's the deal with it? She explained to me that's been setting for approximately 20 years. The original developer came in, you guys put all that in, and you ate it. You ate the money. You put it in. Then a pot farm came around and they wanted to put it in. And you guys were looking at eating money on that one as well. I'm not here for your damn money. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm here to either do a deal or not do a deal. It's that simple. I plan on developing and subdividing it to approximately 120 2.5 acre industrial lots that will create opportunities for either distribution, warehouse, or also manufacturing. Mostly we're looking for higher paying jobs. That would be the goal. If you take 120 lots, average them out at 25,000 square feet per acre, or 25,000 square feet, that would create, that's 1,000, for every 1,000 square feet you build is one job, as a rule of thumb in the industry. 25,000 square feet is going to produce 25 jobs on average. That's clerical and everything. So when you take those 25 and you put all this together, you're talking about approximately 3,000 jobs. So what's the problem with Chickasha right now? Chickasha does not have enough growth in the housing development to be prepared for one developer like Delta or anybody else who's come to your community, built their business, and then walked, and you're stuck holding the bag. This gives you approximately 128 or less different companies that possibly could come in here and do something. Okay? I'm here to develop. If you guys don't want me here to develop, I'll take my money somewhere else. I'm good with that. I don't really care. But I want to at least pitch it. But I caution you on one thing. When I came to this town, they were excited about different options and different things that were going on. You had a council that seemed to be working together towards growth in this community. I already know I'm not going to get a yes vote out of Charlie Burris. Love you to death, but you're a no-growther. You're not going to want this town to grow in any way. And that's okay. I'm good with that too. It's your community. But you're sending a big message when you're shutting down future development. I'm just being honest with you. If you want your town to stop growing, that's up to you. You're the council. Right now, my particular goal is to put together a package that will present to about 200 to 300 potential clients that share the same red values as Oklahoma, I would hope. In Southern California, we want to put a seminar together. We met with the Lieutenant Governor. He wants to see the growth and development. He's head of State Commerce now. State Commerce will want to get involved with us in some fashion. At that point, if we can present, I asked originally that I have the mayor, which you weren't the mayor at the time when I first originally asked this question. I thought this was a dead project because the city didn't know who really owned the land. So they put a lot of good effort into that. But we want to be able to go to and present. Currently right now we have Lieutenant Governor who will be there to help present, to sell this community. I've met with Senator Lankford pitching this deal. I pitched him on Shannon Springs Bridge, which has nothing to do with me. But I pitched him for federal funding to rebuild that bridge, and I asked him if he would fly to California to help represent Chickasha on that level. I've met with Tom Cole based on the same thing. Lonnie Paxton. Have not spoken to Dick Lowe yet. But we had another meeting the other day with Heather, who works directly with Commerce, who works directly for the governor. The governor would be excited, we believe, to come out here or go out there and sell Chickasha. I asked Keith Johnson when I came here originally, I said, Keith, when this came up, have you as a city manager ever went out and hustled business as a city? He said, no, I haven't. I got Canadian Valley Tech who will get involved. They will come out and see what they can do to provide the workforce for the necessary jobs that would be created here. I've met with Lyle, Jim Cowan and I. He lined up a meeting to go meet with the Duncan Industrial Parks over there. They're completely full because of the EDC and the city council, and the city's not getting along. They're in a lawsuit. There's no development of industrial space. So I'm using a local contractor, Elite Star Construction, Aaron Hunter. And the other thing about this is I'm going to say, and again, this is your city, not mine. I just try to do what I can. I think I've come to town and did several things. I fulfilled my obligation to you guys. I told you when I leave this town, I will leave it in a better spot than what it is today. And I think with the redevelopment that I've done so far, I've fulfilled that obligation. This is my last stand. So if you vote me out, that's fine. I'm out. I'm good with that too. So please don't take that personal. It's just I'm going to put my money to work. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. At the end of the day, how you guys vote determines on the growth of this town. You know, I met with Charlie. I know he's a no growther. He doesn't want to see any growth. He won't even walk across a bridge to get to Old Town.
Excuse me, Mr. Hitt. Mr. Mayor, could we stop with this? I mean, I like having Mr. Hitt up here telling us about his plan, but he is disparaging a sitting council member twice now. I wish you would refrain from that.
I apologize. I take it back. It's just reality. Those were his words to me.
I know, but you're here to
Those were
present
his
a
words
plan.
to me.
Just present a plan.
He told me that. So, with that being said,
Thank you, Kelly.
yeah. It's up to you. That's what I'm going to do. You either vote for it or don't. No sweat off my back either way. But I will tell you this, if you vote no, it was, the time it lasted here in Chickasha was a pleasure. Any questions for me?
What type of companies are you looking at? Are you like aeronautical or just whatever you can?
Well, based on what we found out with the FFA, we are not allowed to cross the gate there. If you did, because we talked about private jets coming in and people building businesses there, we're really pitching the central part of the state, of the country. That's how we're pitching this thing to Southern California. So that would be something that would have to go through the FFA if they want to be able to come off there. But right now, I don't think that's an option. To be able to cross over the property line to the industrial park. So I don't think that's an option, but that we are looking for manufacturing jobs. Try to get the high quality manufacturing. We are working a little bit, and we've had the discussion with different people about bringing in the aeronautical side of it. You got Tinker Air Force Base that can't keep up with manufacturing jobs there. So that would be a big play for us to be able to go there. They do a lot of aeronautical in California. If there's opportunities for them to pick up contracts with Tinker, that would be good high-paying jobs. I had a person who he wanted to come to Chickasha. There's two things that he wanted. He wanted a Christian school, which happened to be at the very end of the property over there, and he wanted. He's a party rental, but he rents to all military bases. And he wanted a minimum of 20,000 square feet. And then earlier this week, I met with another gentleman who wanted 20,000 to 30,000 square feet. I want to say one last thing. I'm not going to go on a soapbox, Mr. Boyd, but I'm going to say this. I put $3.5 million into this old town. I have one EDC grant that's coming. But at the end of the day, I put the money up and did what I said I would do. The difference is I used local contractors for every damn job. So out of $3.5 million, let's take that off what I paid for real estate. They were local jobs built right here. So if you think I'm going to go out and go everywhere else to do it, right now we have to work together as a team. But again, that's where we're at with the type of jobs we're trying to create. Any other questions?
I think it's interesting you mentioned Tinker Air Force Base. I was on Tinker about 3 months ago attending the Tinker's Mayor Conference. And General, I believe it's Moore, who's over the parts and distribution part of Tinker, which Tinker, I don't know if everybody knows, does all your heavy refuelers and your heavy bombers. And they're also an engine parts distribution warehouse. But he was talking about the supply chain issues they're having, keeping their 70-year-old plus aircraft flying, because they're still using aircraft that are that old, and it's finding places, and we're talking tier 2, tier 3, your mom and pop places to manufacture these parts, machine these parts. And so when you mentioned Tinker just a minute ago, it clicked to me that there may be a play to have some of those machine shops, those local mom and pops, come to Chickasha if we have spec buildings in the area available to them. Also, the Rotex here to pump out the workforce for them. But to me, that
Mr. Mayor, I currently have a friend of mine, he's on Wallow Road there in Apple Valley. which you would think way out in the desert, why would they be having manufacturing for planes? Bottom line was, he started with one small building, now he has 4. All Air Force Base machine shop parts. So, he's growing his business, it's gonna grow even more so.
How many, did you say your proposed, how many buildings was it? Spec buildings, if they're on?
Right now, I'm shooting for 120, 128, depending on how the engineering lays out.
I'm assuming if this sale goes through, you'd start with, how many would be in your first phase?
13. So what the objective is get the real estate sold first, go out, hustle the deals, try to get them in here, make it enticing. I would probably require so much down and carry paper if I have to. I prefer all cash because we got to roll that cash into expanding 4 other roads the same length that you currently have to put those 128 lots in. This is just a rough draft. I'm done spending money on this project as far as until I have an answer. So, but that's what we're looking at, plus retention basins that we got to put in, and find a pump for the lift station. Right now, as far as the comment being made that there's a lot of infrastructure there. So what happens if that sewer line's not big enough that I need to put in to carry this? That means so I'll cut that, rip that sewer line out, that water main, if it doesn't supply enough water. Now, whose expense is that going to be on? Me. So that's why I'm asking for 6 months of due diligence to see if I want to even do it. Because I think if you take something that's been 20 years old, that's been set in all these years, the odds of you getting it, not having issues with it, is probably pretty slim. So
when you say 6 months of due diligence, within 6 months, what does that mean? That you're going to take 6 months to figure out if the deal's even doable, and if not,
well, you can't.
Land reverts back to the
Currently,
city?
right now, as I found out last Friday, you can't even sell it to me until July because of the
Lease.
Oh, the lease. Okay.
So I can't do anything anyways.
Well, Chet, we could sell it. You just have to allow him to go ahead and get his crops off on his lease.
Yeah, but I can't do any work there.
No.
So we want to respect the leasee.
Yeah.
So it's really boils down to this. You either want more jobs and create more opportunities, and I'm going to do the best I can. I don't know anybody else in this room that works as much as I do. I work 7 days a week when I'm here until I go home. But with that being said, if you want growth, let me help you do some growth. If you don't want growth, vote me out.
I want to say something here. So on September the 4th, I'm going to go off some notes I took here, but on September the 4th, I voted for the amendment for the Airport Authority, the trust indenture. And to me, that amendment was a precursor for this opportunity. It allowed us more latitude to market the industrial park to private potential buyers and generate economic activity on this ground that hasn't produced in decades. So I kind of got to thinking, why not, is there any potential for the city to maintain ownership, to develop, to lease? And has this been done? Has it failed? Is anything? So I did come across an article from December of 2016 in the Journal Record. In 2016, just of note, there was more than $1 million worth of upgrades to the airport and the industrial park. It was when Christy Elkins was the director of the EDC, and it seemed like their plan at that time was to build a 30,000 square foot building on the 240 acres. It seems to be the same acres you're talking about. She declined at that time to really speak of any potential leases or lessors that she had at that time. And then the assistant city manager at that time said about $400,000 was spent to improve roads to that facility. So, to me, $1 million was spent from city and the airport authority, but we saw really nothing. Am I seeing this right? Like, why? So now here we are 8 years later with nothing really to show for that. So I do look at this as an opportunity. And I do agree that we need a long-term plan for the park. It's a great economic opportunity that would be foolish for us to ignore. So thank you for presenting the opportunity to us today.
And just so you know, I had nothing to do with the appraisal. They couldn't hardly get anybody to appraise it. So from what you'd have to ask Rachel that, she might have more information about that information.
My only concern with this too, Chet, would be if, let's say, God forbid, something were to happen to you, or you're, you know, is there any type of protection, I guess, that we could do that if you decided to not go through with these plans, that the city would have the first right of refusal to buy this, to purchase this back for the same amount, or, you know,
We can discuss that. I don't know that
that if it ever came out of your hands.
I am building a team. That's why the local contractor, Aaron Hunter, that I'm using, he will be part of my team. I will be working with real estate agents in California, and I will also be working with real estate agents here with Amanda Bertelli. So we have both ends of that covered, and we have construction covered. I don't build teams that I don't. I've always have a succession plan in most everything I do. So, and I got a life insurance policy that expires, so I only got about 7 years to get this done.
I'm not talking about you dying here, but
I thought she was getting dark. That's
I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse,
I don't
and
want
I've
the
seen
insurance
crazy
company to beat
things,
me, so I just assumed I before then. So I'm motivated to get
I'm
this
just
done.
saying, if your next CEO takes over and doesn't share the same vision of you, who's going to be left owning that property? And I
Well, if
share
we
the
do-
vision for
if
the
we do it and we
industrial park.
subdivide it, the goal is over the next a year and a half, 2 years, is to sell all the lots and get people moving towards it. That's the goal. I'm not going to develop everything. I'll build a few spec buildings probably for model homes, or ready to go for people who want to come in and buy and don't want to wait. That would be something that we're going to probably be looking at. But mostly we plan on selling the lots and getting them ready, because it takes a long time. I mean, it takes, if somebody came in tomorrow, it's still going to take them a year and a half, 2 years to possibly be shovel ready with these projects, just because it's going to take a while to draw plans and do permitting and everything else that's involved.
There's also some zoning that will have to be done, that will have to be approved through the Planning Commission and City Council. They'll have to abide by the same subdivision regulation like we would do a neighborhood. Likely, this is going to be a PUD agreement, which would be similar if anyone was on council when they did the grand development, because I anticipate when we've talked with Chet and we've talked with the possibilities, like this is what Duncan did, they allow some of that mixed industrial and commercial use. So if you ran a commercial type of business, let's say I don't know a good example, you tint windows, you do high-end cars or something like that, you do accessories on cars, that's really commercial, that doesn't really fit the industrial type of use there. So we would bring that to council to see what areas would we allow mixed, what areas would we allow just industrial, would there be heavy, would there be light industrial, kind of what that looks like. Would have to go through the planning process before anything could be done, because right now it's just basically 2 big parcels that would eventually become one through the survey process and the contract, and then it would have to be platted for individual lots, and we'd do that process as a group. So there are some assurances in that way too.
But you can't do any residential.
That would be up to the PUD agreement and the council and the planning commission. I haven't heard anyone want to do that, but again, a PUD allows planning commission and city council to kind of have those controls over what would be allowed where. I don't see a huge need for that there, but
Like planned unit development, is that what you're talking about for how we would do it at the time?
But you as a council are going to have to pay attention to that for the future. If you're going to try to bring people in with higher paying jobs, you sure want them to stay in Chickasha and not run the Tuttle or Blanchard or something like that. You have to start working on a master plan as a council. That's my biggest concern about doing the project. When I show them Chickasha, what's it going to look like? When I show them, are they a pro-growth community? Who knows right now? But at the end of the day, you're gonna have, it's a phased plan that you guys gotta start thinking about as developing Chickasha. Everybody wants great roads, everybody wants all this stuff, but at the end of the day, if you don't have nicer housing or upscale housing, they're gonna go to Blanchard. So they're gonna go somewhere else. So, you know, I understand Jim Crosby being new to here as city manager, but he knows what it takes to get housing going and stuff going. You guys are behind the power curve. That's why downtown was so important to me, because I can sell the culture of a downtown district. That's why I kicked the guy out with the guns and the drugs, so we can create a culture that when I go to do this project, if I'm allowed to, then I'm going to be able to sell people on the fact that come to small town America and have the amenities that you want. Send your kids to great schools where you don't have to worry about them getting shot. Send them to a good community. There's churches on every corner. So you got to sell the way of life, not just an industrial lot or a commercial lot.
Keith, Jim, Rachel, I know we haven't heard a lot from staff on this. I believe it's because you guys had NDAs signed, so you couldn't talk much about this, but I noticed that at the bottom of this it says motion to approve on recommended action. As far as the diligence on this project and everything, I mean, I'm assuming you guys have dug deep into this, and that's why your recommended action is what it is.
I don't know if you could characterize it as a deep dive into the details, but yeah, we have been in communication internally with each other, and Mr. Head, to get an idea of what he wants to accomplish. We have not, since making the change that Councilmember again talked about, we have not received letters of interest or other proposals to do something similar or something different. So our recommendation is that we move forward with this. It's that there are always going to be inherent risks and challenges with any big project, but the vision of trying to create more jobs and more economic interest, and the overall scope we've had of trying to make the airport area more enticing to commercial enterprises coming to Grady County and to Chickasha. We think this is a worthy proposal and ought to be evaluated in that light.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we as the city have not only the resources but the wherewithal to do a project like this on our own.
Well, I think the last 20 years demonstrates that. I mean, we have mentioned that there has been some investment in infrastructure out there, but it is by no means complete or ready for somebody to make a commitment to come here. They need to make sure that we've got water and sewer and electrical power and internet capacity, all of those things that a modern business would need. And because it's been sitting idle for a long time, there's a significant infrastructure investment that the city just currently doesn't have the resources to do on our own as a spec project for the city. It literally will require a developer who's got the resources to put this together and make it happen. I think without that, you're looking at it sitting idle indefinitely for the city.
It's set for 20 years, and we keep hearing about the 20-year thing. But when we changed the indenture for the Municipal Airport Authority, that's what opened this up. Mm-hmm. And that happened in September.
Correct.
But we were making plans, obviously, in July to sell this because that's when the appraisal took place. And that's where I have an issue, is the fact that this was all, being brewed up, and then in September we had this big long discussion about the use of that. Well, it changed the use of that land when we changed the indenture. And so now, basically, where it sits now has only been since September to December that, throwing it out to the public saying, we have this here now and it can be used for this. And it just seemed like, as a city, you know, we should get the most money out of it. But it was appraised back in July, and it wasn't allowed to be used as it's going to be used in December.
Yeah, I don't know that we've changed the character or the use of the real estate, but we did have to do some due diligence of first understanding, did we actually own the property as a city or as an airport authority? And then approximately what was the value? We had no idea without the appraisal of what, so those discussions with Mr. Hitt would have never taken place or developed had we not been able to do those minimum background kinds of understanding that we needed to do. We would have to do anyway for anyone that was looking at that property.
My question is, did the value of the land change from July to today based upon the usage? And we can't sit and say, no, it didn't change, because we don't have a current appraisal based upon what we can do.
I think that appraisal is about as current as you're going to have. The appraisals usually don't typically change dramatically within a 6-month period. I mean, they can if there's a speculation in land values that takes place, a significant economic event that drives prices up or down. But I think we're relying on that appraisal to be reasonably accurate as of today.
I've been trying to think back on recent, it's apples to oranges, but on recent land purchases from the city. And as my wife likes to say, my memory's horrible, so if I misspeak, forgive me. But some cases in point, like Jungle Ice, they bought city property to open up, and they approached the city about buying that land. We didn't have it for sale. I believe the same thing with the Best Western out there on the corner. They approached the city about buying the land. And so that's all Mr. Hitt did here, and that's on a much grander scale, is that land was sitting there and he approached the city about buying that land. We didn't make Jungle Ice go out to public bid. We didn't make Best Western go out to public bid when they approached the city about buying the land. Anybody had the right to go, hey, that's city-owned property. I wonder if they'd sell it to me. And that actually does happen all the time. You have people come and buy the city lots from us all the time, and they just ask the city, hey, is that for sale? So that could have been done at any time. Now, Mr. Hitt's vision is on a more grandiose scale than either of those things I mentioned. I believe even the property where Parafeet was the McPhersons approached the city about buying that building. So again, the public auction, the going offering out to public, we haven't done that before. I think we need to be careful with the precedents we've set.
I think that
The other side of that too is I just want to clarify one thing. One is when you talk about creating 3,000 jobs, there's 3.2 people per family. Over the course of the next 10 years, this community can almost double or add 2/3 to it. And I'm okay. Like I said, everybody, I'm good either way. The only thing I heard way back that Walmart was looking at popping outside the town. This was addressed to me the other day. That Walmart says, the heck with it, city's too hard to deal with, we're going outside to the county. And then I heard another company did that, a motorsport company did that.
Morris Motorsports did that.
Yeah, Morris. So I'm actively talking to a couple other people, and I could do this outside on the south side of town and look at some land, but I just don't want to have to go through the process. But it's either, again, either want me or you don't.
This is just for my own edification, because you mentioned timeline. This project is not an overnight thing. You're talking about adding 3,000 jobs, but it's going to be gradually.
It'd be a gradual deal over time. Sure. You can't, I would hope that we can sell most of the lots in the next 2 to 3 years. It's a lot of lots to sell. But then to be able to back that up, you got, like I said, a lot of legwork. I don't know how long it takes to write a PUD, but I'm sure Rachel and I are gonna figure that out if it comes time, but that's why I decided not to spend any more money until we figure this out.
Do we know how much the city has invested in responding to Chet's proposal?
Other than staff time, I don't know that we've spent, and the appraisal and title search, those kinds of things that we did, we would have had to do anyway. But
For what?
For making this available to use.
It's been available for 20 years.
Well,
am I wrong?
There was not adequate documentation to demonstrate titled ownership, and
so we weren't very ready.
We weren't.
Keith?
Depends on how you characterize that.
Keith, can I speak for just a second?
Certainly.
Go ahead.
We were out of compliance with the FAA on the property at the airport, all the property. So we had to bring our abstract up to date, and so to get in compliance so that Park Hill could do their survey of all the property at the airport. So that was something we had to do for FAA on that part of it.
Amanda, isn't that called a standalone and you just go over there and read the record? There's not been that many transactions of our airport property.
It was last updated before this year. It was last updated in 2016.
Was there some sales?
I'm sorry?
Do you understand the concept of abstract in that if there wasn't any sale, somebody would just go and look at the book and go, no, it's still in the name of Chickasha.
Well, Park Hill needed it updated for us. We needed to update it for them so they could do a proper survey of the property. There's some of the property out there that was not correct, and they're trying to get those corrections made for us. So,
title corrections?
I don't know exactly. I'm not a lawyer or a surveyor, so I'm not sure what those exactly are. They're currently working on that for us.
Mr. Hitt, would you say that in its current condition, it looked like Chickasha was trying to show those lots to anybody else?
Nobody's ever had any inquiry, and I wouldn't to try to do it either if I didn't fly in there. I just saw an empty road and thought...
It's cow pasture right now, including what's in the road and what
the cows will ruin the roads because cows are on it.
I have suggested many developers look at the industrial park.
Say again, please.
I have suggested many developers look at the industrial park when people come to me.
Well, I look at that and think, if we have developers that want to come to our town, which nobody's saying is a bad thing, so it would be like having company come over to your house. My mom taught me, we're going to clean up a little bit before we have company. And in its current condition, it is staged as a little bit blighted. A
little what?
A little bit blighted in that it's not been mowed, it's not been cleared, it's overgrown. We've stacked hay on it. There's hay refuse on it. There's cow droppings on it.
But that's the leasee persons.
But what I'm saying is, if we've really been actively marketing this place, why is it in that condition? If we had company coming over and we wanted them to come here, we had the ability to maintain that better, and we've not done it as a city. This is regardless of your proposal, of which I'll take this time now to say, I love you too. Thank you for saying that in public. Now, one thing about me, if you want to share that it's your opinion that I'm anti-growth, please repeat that. But I think we have a misunderstanding about whether me being anti-growth or not. Council, here we have before us the opportunity to control something or to sell something to Chet's control, totally. These years I've lived here, I've always been told that park is available. That park is available for whatever projects may come along. And then we would have control of that, who could come to town, how's that going to fit, are there requirements a good fit for us to have staying power? And Chet, you're doing a very good job of representing yourself, and you've always done it, and I'll congratulate you again. As I told you before, I think you're a great coach, and you have good teams.
Thank you.
But I don't know that everything is, we're called up here to see what's the best fit for our community. So that's where my concern comes from.
And you're the council, and you get to make that decision.
But
I would say
opposing that, we've had control for 30 years.
Right.
And in 2016, it seems like there was a pretty strong effort to bring developers in. and a lot of money spent to try to do that on the city side. A lot of money and a lot of time, and I don't think if, you know, what's the alternate to a private developer like Chet coming in would be the city to, you know, to develop it to, I mean, realistically, we don't have the revenue for that.
Its overgrown nature is.
Then you don't have the staff either. They don't want to do that.
It's gonna sit, I fear that if we turn away from this opportunity, it'll just sit vacant for another 30 years.
That's what I was gonna say, is that it feels like we have a plan in front of us that has the backing, connections, and an actual plan. Or we hope somebody else might want to. And I think it's a big gamble that we turn down someone standing here wanting to take us to the dance and say no to what all citizens talk about constantly: water, roads, jobs. Water, roads, jobs. So I think it would be a misrepresentation to the people that have voted us into these seats to look at Mr. Hitt and say, no, thank you, we hope someone else shows up later.
I'm glad Charlie brought up fit, because I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe 128 spec buildings out there is exactly the fit every EDC director, city manager, or anybody involved has had for that out there. I mean, look at Duncan's Industrial Park. That's exactly what they do. They put spec buildings, they fill them, right? So when you talk about fit, I don't know how much more fitting it can get than this project. It's exactly what I believe most people's vision has been for out there for 30 plus years. And now we have somebody coming to us to buy the land from us, but that's what they want to execute, is the fit, the vision that everybody's been trying to get done, but nothing's got done for decades.
I just want to clarify, sorry.
Okay.
Are you said 128 spec buildings? Is that
no.
your intentions? Okay.
Or lots, I'm
No,
sorry.
128
Okay.
lots.
Okay, right.
And we will probably build some specs for model homes.
Right.
Turnkey ready for somebody to move in. But basically, like the one guy, when I met with an architect earlier in the week, his concern is laying out the plan, because he's got to put in a crane in there for the manufacturing that he needs to do.
Right, I figured these companies would want, you know, special buildings, or they have special needs for that.
So right now, we tentatively plan on leaving them dirt, build the shell as a spec, leave it dirt on the inside, so we have plenty of room to be able to custom develop what they would want to fit the needs of their business.
Right.
You know, I'll tell you, too, this is, Jim Cowan can vouch for this, but we held, Keith can too, we sat in a meeting with Keith, and the mayor of Norman says, why Chickasha? And I said, because I love this little town. I'm trying to sell the town concept of a small town, but can have some nice things. He begged me to come to Norman. Don't invest in Chickasha. Right in front of Keith, he's basically saying, come to Norman. We just held a conference here at the Mill Building. The mayor of Altus has called me 3 times, trying to get me to go to Altus. Altus has a nice airport industrial park. They're willing to do something with me. So when I say, I don't know that you will find very many people, based on our past council meetings, and don't take this as a negative, it's the truth. There's a lot of people watch these council meetings. As a developer, it scares people when they cannot see a unified council for growth. And it is what it is. So we can talk about this stuff all night long. I say you guys do a roll call and say yes or no.
Brian, thank you for...
But you're the mayor.
Thank you for correcting me on that.
Oh, I just want to make sure I wrote it down right.
What's the city's, I guess, goal, or what are they gonna do with the proceeds from this sale? Because one thing I've always said is, you've got land, you're not making any more of it. It's an appreciable asset. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of income off of it, but not a lot. You sell it and don't do anything with the money in as a good steward, and then you don't have it left over. You've blown it on something. I know it has to stay within the airport. We have to utilize it there. But is there any thought of putting it into a trust or an endowment that raises interest, and then you spend the interest, and that way you still got your deal, and you can only spend maybe 80% of the interest, the other 20% goes back into the endowment? Is there any thoughts to doing something like that?
We certainly could. We have not developed a specific plan of investment of those proceeds. We are aware that we would like to make additional improvements to the airport as the community grows and as demand for aviation services grow, whether that's additional hangars. We know we need to do something with the old existing hangars that are falling apart. So there's plenty of capital projects out of there. We look at some point building a new what's the word I'm looking for? Terminal building, thank you, to attract more aviation-related business to the airport, making it continue to be a gem within the Chickasha city. So, but yeah, how we spend that money, that's a financial policy that the city council could direct.
But isn't there a grant? I know Darren would know more about that. Isn't there a matching grant that you're looking at?
The Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics has a matching grant of up to $1 million for a new terminal.
Yeah, for the new terminal.
So out of that, it's $2 million matching grant of free money of $1 million.
Rachel, just for the record, you've been here longer than I have, so how many years have you been with the city? 5 years? And in 5 years, have you had a lot of industrial developers that you've tried to attract to that, or tried to send to that area and never have had any interest?
Pretty much. Right when I started was when the medical marijuana situation was going on with Mr. Noblet at the time. This might answer some of the questions about why it took us so long and why we've been digging into this. When we look back at the history, Amanda and I looked at the old firm files, I've looked at Steve Chapman's files, I've looked at all the past city managers' files. No one's truly been able to figure out the ownership question because it has been bounced back from the CIA to the CMA to the CMAA, and it just kind of got pushed around because I don't think anyone really dug in and did the research, because it was a lot of research. The abstract was, this big. I almost needed a cart to bring it back from across the street. And so anyone that comes and says, oh, I'm interested, do y'all have any land available? They want buildings, and that's really how Duncan's been so successful. That's what this Oklahoma City did, what Rogers did with Amazon. The city owns that building and built the building for Amazon. And so that's what people are doing to be successful. There's other cities that are our size that are doing the same thing. We need to have the space, and I think that's a lot easier to recruit some of the smaller scale. And then once we have some of that business, you hope you bring in a bigger one that's going to invest, and maybe they're going to buy 10 of Chet's lots and build a big manufacturing. And then, we'll have to leave it adjustable in that in my view, so that way we can adjust lot lines easily and we can kind of talk about and be really flexible for people to come in. But that's just my opinion. But yes, a lot of people have walked away because they didn't want to. They don't want to build ground up necessarily.
Okay.
Rachel just triggered another thought. The other side, we have had meetings with Commerce and different things to be able to look at the expansion of this development, where we would have to add in, possibly redo the road. What is that, 82? What highway is that?
81.
Highway 81, where that little curve is, to make it safer as well. That would be things that we'll work with State Commerce on, and different things like that. So it's not just that particular piece of property. We'll be doing some other things that State Commerce would help us with.
I have a question. Like, could you build like the Amazon warehouse? Could we build like an Amazon warehouse there? Because I know there's height restrictions. on those buildings out there.
That is going to be an issue. That's part of this 6 months of due diligence. I need to understand the water flow. Is there enough water there to supply 128 lots? Is there enough sewer? What's the height restrictions from the FFA on the eastern part of the park? We may not be able to build tall buildings right there. They may have to come in off the offset. So there's a lot of homework to do.
Is that Chickasha water or is it rural water?
It's Chickasha.
Chickasha. Okay, because I know up 81 on the west side of 81, there's a lockdown now. You can't put anything in because you can't put any more water meters in.
Yeah, that's
there.
our water.
Okay.
So does Chickasha make money off water?
Say again?
Does Chickasha make money off water? Is that an income producer to the city?
No. Yeah.
That's the only.
So that's an opportunity too. And I would have had a more formal presentation, but I wasn't going to present tonight. I was having somebody else going to do it. I was out of town, but we decided to come back and I'm just doing the best I can tonight.
When you say 6 months, is that, so say this thing's approved, is it actually not executed for 6 months? Or is it immediate?
I don't know. This is a lawyer question. I just wanted to do a letter of intent is what I wanted to do, to buy the time to say, I'm going to go spend a lot of money doing due diligence. Don't sell me down, because I got to meet with engineers. I got to meet with a lot of other things.
The
So
reason I asked that is because I read closing funding and possession, May 15th, no later than. Is that why that's in there?
If I may, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so if the council approves this tonight, it will be executed immediately. But the contract, and this is very standard, does provide for a due diligence period, which if any buyer finds that for their inspections, whatever, it's not going to work for their purpose, then they are allowed to terminate the contract and they would get their earnest money back.
So if those questions you were talking about answering, water flow, stuff like that, if it's something that you can't work with, you can still walk away.
Right.
And then it would revert back to city owned.
Correct, because until we actually close, there's a closing on the property, we still have title to the property.
Does that mean the property is locked down basically for Mr. Hitt's purposes for 6 months, or 5 months, I guess it is now?
When you say lockdown, I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Means designated. I mean, we're under contract
Yes.
with him.
Yes. Yes,
Nobody
it's-
else can kind of come, hey, we'd like to take a look at this property. And we can't entertain any other bids or anything else until Mr. Hitt is complete.
That's correct.
I think that was the intent because if I'm misunderstanding, he's about to start spending real money trying to figure out if this thing's going to work for him or not. Right. And you'd hate to have it come ripped out from under anybody.
Chad, I've got one other question for you. If you determine that this property will work for you, provided it passes, are you going to request any more money from the city for development purposes, or are you going to take care of that out of your own pocket?
I will do the development and the sell of the lots. The only thing that is a catch, because you guys will make money on water, I'd be asking for water meters. So because that's your profit center too. So where I come from, it's a little different. So I'd be asking for the water, and depending on, once I get done with the due diligence, where the sewer stubs are, to determine how that would tap that. Because if the sewers are in the middle of the street and they didn't put any taps to either side of this property, then I'm going to be cutting that asphalt out, Charlie, that we're talking about. So it's going to cost me a lot of money to do that. So.
Does anybody know? I don't believe the sewer's anywhere near that road.
Darren, do you know?
There's a sewer main on Airport Road at the front of the property. I don't think it extends down onto the property. I think the water main does. There's 2 fire hydrants, one at the beginning of it and one at the end. But I don't believe the sewer main extends all through there at all. I think it just goes down Airport Road And I think it ties back into, there's a lift station down on the west side, far west side of the property, and I think it ties back into that.
But that lift station's been.
So this is part of my due diligence, because I thought sewer went all the way down. So that right there could be a deciding factor whether I play or don't play.
Chad, how much do you believe that the council, on behalf of the citizens, should have some time for due diligence? If you need 6 months, do you feel 72 hours or less is adequate for council to make a good decision for its citizens?
I don't run your city, so I don't know if that's
We don't run your business, so would 3 months be enough due diligence?
well, I don't know how much time you're going to spend out there digging around that I have to dig around and hire engineers and everything I have to do that.
But I see this
I see where you're going with that.
Totally in favor of you and not in favor of the city, Keith. Or whoever drew up the contract. Did you present the contract to the town?
Lawyers did it, I did not.
On behalf of your corporation or yourself, did that come from your party?
We did a contract. My lawyer and Miss City Attorney wrote the contract, or did it together. She didn't actually write it, but she
Okay.
approved it.
So it sounds like non-disclosure agreements. Is that what NDAs are, Mayor?
Correct.
NDAs?
Non-disclosure agreements, yes.
They exist,
Yes, they do.
or they have no value now?
They
Are
don't
they-
have
are they done?
have no value based on my discussion with Rachel and Darren, and I don't know if Jim was involved in that instead of me doing a blanket letter of intent, so you didn't know who I was, and have somebody else present, they felt best to be up front with council and put me on the paperwork now. So that's why I'm here. I
Okay.
did not want you guys knowing what I was doing. I didn't want the community knowing what I was doing. But they felt it was best that we were transparent in that area, so I agreed to do this.
Well, thank you for agreeing to that, but I wouldn't say that's exactly transparent to the rest of council. And those agreements could have been extended through proper channels. I think it's known in the circles of the council that we do have executive sessions. And then we would sign our name and go, yes, we're not going to talk about that. We're adults. We understand the repercussions and what's at stake here. So, and know this too, this is not against you or your development. It's still my understanding that those things would be offered in little pieces and not selling the whole thing at once, not at wholesale prices. I really don't care about the prices. I can pick the appraisal apart, and I think the value could be very many multiples beyond what the price is. But just the fact that we as a city, like some family members, have inherited something, and we inherited that fine airport property and this adjacent property with it that apparently is no use to the airport right now. So we've, for years, entertained having some kind of development out there, maybe something that could interface with each other at some point. And we're selling the west half of our farm in this.
Then don't sell it, because I'm just about had enough. I'm not going to sit here and kiss your guys' butts to get this project approved. I came here with good faith, and I don't need it. So call the vote, either vote it for it or I'm out.
Are you finished answering questions?
I am now answering questions, sir.
Thank you for talking to us.
Darren, what is the FAA height restriction?
I'm not 100% sure on that. I think it's, Mitch, do you know what it is on that from the runway? Is it for every 1,000 foot?
I don't know what it is exactly. There's a safety plane, so within like the first 250 feet, you've got to be less than 50 foot tall, and then the next 1,000 feet or so, there's a plane that's like 3 degrees out.
Yeah. Because how far is the property line fence from the
It would
runway?
affect the buildings on the east side of the development. The buildings on the west side would probably not be affected.
Right. 'Cause I know at the fence line, you can't be we were thinking about putting some electric over there for our AWAS, and they were gonna they couldn't set a pole because the pole was gonna be 40 foot tall at the fence property line, and that was gonna be too tall, that close to the runway. So we'd had to go underground to do that. But the further away you get, the higher you can go, obviously.
And in the future, do you see the airport needing another runway?
Honestly, I don't think we ever need near the runway. Maybe in the future, a runway extension or widening, or what do you think, Mitch?
You know, we've been there a long time, we've not done a whole lot of expanding, so.
Yeah.
Now, if Jeff needs some business out there, we'll probably need another runway, so.
We're quite a ways away from the new runway.
Correct.
I just didn't know if this land would we need it?
We as they just described, we would look at a runway extension before to be able to land and take off with larger, heavier aircraft before we would look at a second runway. That would require a doubling of volume, or at least a significant increase in the volume of traffic. But right now, our biggest limitation would be the weight and landing length of an aircraft.
Okay.
Say we have highlighted one glaring thing that our council should be very proactive doing with our new, incoming city manager, and to Chet's point about hustling for the city. He's right. I mean, we really haven't done a very good job doing that in that space out there. And since September has happened, and now we have full knowledge of what we have, we should really get on board to do that. And regardless of approval for Mr. Hitt's project or not, the city should bear the responsibility to do that, because it is ours.
I would
make it more attractable for any developer, because right now we could do a lot better job, I think. Hustling through the EDC efforts, which I don't know how much Mr. Jim's done to actually highlight and go after developers such as Chet. If any, I don't know. I have no idea.
I was going to add that the effort to market that property has taken place over a number of years in different forms. I know the EDC, when they attend national conferences where they're talking directly to potential developers, have let them know that we have this industrial space available, but it really has not gone anywhere, just because we have not seen developers wanting to express interest in it.
Jim, this kind of falls in your area of expertise of talking to potential developers. Is there anything you can add to that?
Yes, thank you. There's a blueprint to how to get industrial. Duncan, Oklahoma does a fantastic job. They build spec buildings. The Duncan Economic Development Authority has a war chest with, I think, in excess of $12 million. They build a spec building, they fill it up, then they build another spec building. And that's what Chet was referring to when he said that we went down and we toured their facility, because Chet was trying to understand what's the right size of building, okay? What's it look like? How much should it cost? How important are the doors on it? And Lyle down there, he was just wonderful in terms of providing all this information. I started at the EDC in 2020. We've not ever been able to use the airport industrial park to answer an RFP. When we get leads from Commerce, what they want, every one of those leads, first thing you have to know is you have to know exactly how much utilities you have, your utility capacity. Second thing is they want a building and they want it ready to go. You cannot tell them, well, we've done an amazing job of growing grass. We haven't grown any jobs, but boy, we've grown some grass, okay? It just doesn't work. That's why it's set there empty, and that's why it will continue to sit there empty unless you do something about it. I'm begging you to consider jobs, okay? I've heard a lot of comments about the price, okay? Price is important. You all have due diligence to do to the citizens. You need to be good stewards. I get that. But we're talking about something that can make a difference in the future of Chickasha.
And I heard the comment about work sessions. You know, here, I don't know, a few weeks ago, a month ago, whatever, we did an economic development work session. Tonight, you all are doing an economic development work session. We have the media right here, and I got a phone call earlier and text messages. This meeting, because of Chet, is being watched online, and they're waiting to do a story on what is Chickasha going to do. So you all are doing the economic development work session tonight. You're going to have an opportunity to tell people that, yes, we want to try to make our city, improve our city, and we want to offer jobs. I've heard a couple of you talk about jobs, livable wage. Right? So here comes someone that's willing to build spec buildings at no cost to the city. Does he profit from it? You bet he does, because he's taking all the risk. It's this simple. Do you want to grow grass, or do you want to grow jobs?
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I'm inclined to want to piggyback off what you said about this opportunity, because this is what, like I said, the intent, I believe, has been for decades of this area, is to this very thing. And, you know, I consider ourselves fortunate to have a public-private partnership here, and hopefully the ability to get it done. But also to what Kelly said, hustling, very important. Just even if this does sell to Chet, we're still going to have to hustle the city to make it desirable for those places still to want to come. And I agree with Kelly, we need to do a better job of hustling ourselves and hustling our community, whether it's a developer out there pushing for us and we're, you know, pushing as well, or it's us doing our own thing as well. So, exactly. We have anything else? We do have a motion in a second.
Yeah, Amanda, do we need to surplus this property? We vote on.
Add it to the motion just so that it is clear that you as the trustees have determined that it is no longer necessary for the trust purposes, and that you can therefore convey it.
Say that again, please, Amanda.
I was just giving you the reason as to why I made that recommendation, just so that the record is clear that you as trustees have determined that the property is no longer required for trust purposes.
You need to amend your motion.
I think that's what she's teaching me.
Okay.
See if my voice hangs on. Okay, I'd like to amend my motion. I move that we agree to sell the property. See if I can get through my voice. Approve the contract for sale to Chickasha Industrial Park property to OHIT Corporation with the understanding that the trust finds that, Amanda, help me out here, that the land is no longer required for trust purposes, and that we approve the purchase of the northeast quarter.
So.
I've just got myself all, I'm gonna blame it on sinus drugs. That we sell the northeast quarter and the north half of southeast quarter of section 7, township 7 north, range 7 west, and the south half of the southeast quarter of section 6, township 7 north, range 7 west of the Indian Meridian, Grady County, Oklahoma, 320 acres, more or less, surface and surface rights only.
Second.
Any more discussion? Roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Burris,
No.
Curtis,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Ginn. Yes. Hebblethwaite.
Yes, and I think you missed Miss Erica.
Oh,
Erica, you didn't. Alexander.
I'm sorry, Alexander?
Yes.
Okay. And then Grayson.
Yes.
Mayor Grayson.
Yeah, motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
So we're gonna go back to.
Mayor Grayson, I think that we can postpone the Onward Chickasha for a night when we're not exhausted, so everyone is kind of fresh, because it's 9. My only suggestion was gonna be if anyone wants to meet with me between now and then, if you wanna have a personal meeting, I was gonna pick up on chapter 3 tonight. But I'm happy to meet with anyone and answer some questions if anyone feels like that would help.
Yes, I would 1000% beg council to submit the things that they want to talk about in the work session and see if those answers could come beforehand.
I'm
Extra
happy to do
weeknights are hard to come by, and if we spend another 2 hours to get another 100 pages, this is going to take forever.
80 pages.
Yeah, and it's 9, and I think everyone's exhausted. I think it would be better if everyone has like a fresh mind. My staff's been here since 7:30 this morning, and but
my
I'm
second
happy
win.
to meet with anyone between now and when we schedule it. If anyone wants to individually meet with me, my office, me and Jim, anyone, or if you want to meet with Guernsey, whatever I can do to help this process and help everyone kind of understand.
I will say, though, this is our plan for our city. It's very important.
Absolutely.
It's incredibly important, but we just,
It's our job to go over it as a council.
Yes. Parliamentary procedure here tonight. We need to reconvene the meeting before we have the discussion.
I haven't even hit the gavel adjourn.
Yeah, you might want to reconvene it
All
first.
right, yeah, so we're, Airport Authority is adjourned. I need to reconvene the Chickasha City Council. May a roll call, please.
Thank you. Boyd?
Here.
Nelson? Here. Ginn? Here. Edelthwaite?
Here.
Smith?
Present.
Alexander?
Here.
Burris?
Here.
Curtis?
Here.
Grayson?
Here. And since we are postponing item number 7, we'll move to 8 for adjournment.
Make that motion.
do we need a motion to table,
Do we need to do that? Are we pulling it?
or are we just good?
It's just, it's a
It's a work
discussion
session.
item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion to adjourn? Second. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.